Welcome back to this week's episode of Pitt Law vLAWg.
My name is Alayna Bartko, and I'm a third-year student here at Pitt Law. And here today with us is Professor Arnett, who was awarded this year's Distinguished Public Interest Professor.
And Alayna Bartko, in her modesty, was awarded the Distinguished Scholar for third-year students.
Thank you.
This is exciting.
This is exciting. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Yes, and it's strange and different for me because we're usually,
in the classroom.
In the classroom, I'm in front of the classroom, you're sitting. So this is good, though.
Yeah. It's an honor to be recognized amongst the other students I was recognized with. There were nominees for both of our categories, and Professor Arnett was voted the most amongst all the professors who were nominated by students. And he was recognized for his work in public interest, his work in criminal justice and education, and surveillance, and the way that it impacts juveniles. And students were really appreciative of the way that he helps students who are pursuing these type of careers to, have the tools under their belt to make sure they can pursue them. And he encourages them to pursue them even if there are obstacles in their way, to pursue them anyway, which was, I benefited from that advice.
Indeed, so let's talk a little bit about what you have coming up in store and this past year for you as well. Alayna has been extremely active in the Pitt Law community in the work that she has done to further social justice and public interest work. Her commitment to public interest work with youth is unquestioned. Not only was she elected as president of the Pitt Legal Income Sharing Foundation, which helps raise funds to support students pursuing public interest work, every legal internship she has held has been a public interest position. Continually inspired and awed to see how she exudes so much confidence and joy in her work. I go there on, and I note that I hope that they view this application as not only a chance to lend a hand of support for a rising star, but also a genuine opportunity to receive one. So I wanna ask you about passion, purpose, and potential, if I may.
Sure.
All right. So the first is about passion. Right. I know you have a lot of it. At the Plissof event, you mentioned that you always pursued law as a way of helping people. Where does that drive come from? Where does that passion come from?
Wow. My stepdad is an attorney, and he happens to do more of general practice type of work, but he's someone in our community at home who he serves on every community nonprofit board. Even though he does general practice work where he's helping people with wills and property things and family issues, he still serves so much of his time in figuring out ways to help people. He serves as on the school board, the Association for the Blind, things like that, where he's just giving so much of his time to help other people, even if his career isn't necessarily, doing that directly. So since a young age, since I was 10, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I got to see someone like him who just committed so much of himself to helping people, using his degree as that tool to further helping people. You actually mentioned Bryan Stevenson in your speech, and one of my favorite quotes from his book, Just Mercy, is actually a quote from his grandmother that says, I think I've mentioned this to you before too, but it says, when you're passionate about something, when you're trying to fix something, you need to get closer. You need to get closer, Bryan. And I think about that all the time, because also for her, I think it was shared around the same time, the story that he's explaining the hugs he would get from his grandmother, and I think of the closeness there and just how that closeness is proximity, but it's also compassion. Just thinking about the hugs. And I would say that for my work working in crimes against children, I realized I wanted to work with kids directly.
One of the things that I tried to convey at the honoring ceremony was that one of the things that I did not expect while in law school before engaging in public interest work was dealing with the fact that your motivators and your passions may change throughout time, right? So what may be driving you to work at Kids Voice and the work connected with the opioid crisis, what drives you to that could change, could deepen, could switch, and I was completely not cognizant of how that could come about. Yeah, exactly. And I think about an incident that was pretty neat. That wasn't even on the forefront of my mind. But when I graduated, I committed to being a public defender in New Orleans, and I went to New Orleans. And on the forefront of my mind, my motivator was, providing a voice for those who, oftentimes are shunned or
Right.
silenced.
Taken away, yeah.
Exactly. In court, and I didn't think about some of the other motivators that could be driving me to do the work that I was doing. And I think about this one day when I was heading to court, and my mind is completely focused on the trial that I had that day, and I'm super anxious. I'm on the verge of like throwing out one of my first trials. I just have all of these jitters, and so my head is in the clouds somewhere else, and I'm walking. The public defender's office is little ways across the street from the courthouse, so I'm walking to the courthouse and heading in. I see this young black kid, and he stops me as I'm walking into the building, and he said, "You're a lawyer?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Cool." And I was like, "Oh wow," and I wasn't even thinking about being a role model. I was just thinking about the work that I did in court as well. So that was pretty cool. That also became a motivator, for doing the work that I ultimately committed to.
I know that as a public interest student myself speaking, that I really appreciate that teachers, including the ones who have public interest backgrounds, find a way to hybridize their experience with academics and how they create that into something powerful. So it's not just, I was a philosophy major in undergrad, and like so much of like the armchair thinkers and how they weren't doing anything.
I didn't know that. That makes
The
makes
overthinking
sense.
stuff, yeah.
That makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was psychology and philosophy.
Okay.
But I think that, in that way, I think, thinking of my undergrad experience, I used to want to be a professor, but then I was like, but I don't want to just write, I want to do. And I think that coming to law school, it's opened up the idea to me again that I would want to be a professor one day, because I'd get to see people thinking and doing. And I think like someone like you who does incredible work, Professor Harris who does the writing and the doing, I think that students appreciate that because they see how powerful their work can be. But I hope you can share a little bit about what advice you would give to just public interest students generally going forward in their careers, whether they're a 1L, 2L, or 3L, or a graduate. What type of zinger punches that you would want to give to students to make sure that they are pursuing these type of opportunities.
Yeah, public interest is hard. And before I even say that, thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I think a lot of students are very appreciative of what their professors do, but you all don't realize what you all do for us as well, right? So we appreciate having you all as students. Because in a lot of ways it's affirming. When you go and you pursue the things that we are saying to you is valuable work. That's affirming to us. When you take our advice or when you push back and you challenge us on things, help us learn as well. So I appreciate you for that. And thinking about public interest is so hard because we talked about this in terms of finite positions and resources.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is and we talked about this in legal ethics, is that there's such a great need for legal work in public interest area. But the jobs are limited, right? So how do you bridge that gap for people who are coming out of law school, who are interested in it, and have crushing debt? Is there a way to do that, right? Elizabeth Warren is, proposing policy now.
And there's LREPs too.
LREPs,
there's public service loan forgiveness. I'm figuring all of those resources right now. You better
so
believe
how
it.
do you do that, right? And until we do that in an effective, consistent way, we're dealing with small amount of jobs.
Right.
If you're thinking about getting experience while in law school, because without public interest experience in law school, you're not gonna get a job in the area. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's do the
Yes,
high five
that was
thing.
great. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Bye.